Hello, ladies and gentlemen of the internet. Welcome to the channel. My name is Prosec, and welcome back to McRaeathon 2022. We're raising money for Mind, which is a nationwide organization committed to prevent mental health issues and support everyone who has dealt with mental issues themselves or within their family. All of your donations will go to Mind, so please do be absolutely generous. Speaking of which, we've got a donation for the absolutely fantastic amount of $48 from the survivor, saying 48 car crashes at £1 per as promised. Thank you very much, survivor, and we've got a fantastic run coming up with myself as commentary as well from LolBengals of Hot Wheels World Race. Take us away.
Greetings, I am LolBengals, and of course you've met my commentator Proasic. Greetings.
Fantastic to be here as ever. I'm looking forward to it.
Me too. Should be a lot of fun.
Alright, so before we get into it, I believe we're going to have a little bit of a talk about the car, yeah?
Of course. So I'm going to be doing an Elite League mode up. No, let's do another one. So I'm going to be doing Elite League, which features all 15 tracks in the game. I'm going to be doing the Road Beast team with Power Rocket. Now, this is a car that I think I'm the only one that runs this car in the server that we're in, right?
Yeah, definitely. Certainly with regularity.
Okay, so everybody, for the most part in the server, uses Golden Arrow right here. It is one of the meta cars in the game, where it goes really fast, and you see the front end of it is pointed, so when you try to shuffle into the wall, you go at absurdly high speeds. I'm talking like in the 400s, 500s, all that stuff. But I don't really care to use it because I've learned that Power Rocket, after using it for a while, is actually pretty good itself. Its only deficiency is that it can't turn very well. But I've kind of figured out a way around that, and this is the car I'm going to be using.
Yeah, and we've also had a few other non-standard picks. So Enigmatic Will, one of the greatest modders in our community, uses Power Piston and is quite proficient with it. And of course, the initial opening run was done with the Seared Tuner by SB Runs. Before we knew the meta, I suppose.
Yeah, what a pioneer.
Quite. Alright, count us down whenever you are ready.
Alright.
The exciting run.
I'm going to start in 3, 2, 1, go.
So the first thing we're going to be seeing in Cloud 9 here is a technique we term shuffling. This is essentially the overlap between the boost state and the drift state, and as you can see, we get up to some pretty spicy speed with it. The game tries to enforce a sort of soft speed cap of around 200 miles per hour. It's not always successful, and something about the way the game handles boost pads and turning onto them causes this extra speed to be generated, and it's really quite convenient because it means we can go quickly. This was first implemented by Waltec GK, still one of our top runners to this day, with his first Rookie League world record, although at the time we only knew about it on loops, which we'll see a bit later on. It wasn't until Eclipse came along that the technique was generalized, and suddenly we were able to perform all these spicy little bits of movement that you can see Bengals pulling off here. In addition to that, you can see on the right side of the screen there is a bar labeled Nitrox 2, or Nitrox Squared, or something along those lines anyway. It is a second method of getting a boost, and because it's not tied to a pad, that means that we can get the speed pretty much wherever we like at the cost of losing out on some of the efficiency. You know, we don't get the redirection that boost pads give. As you can see from the jump here on Cloud9, that is the major source of the reward. And in fact, doing tricks on those, on that pad, as we saw, on that ramp rather, will reward you with something we call Flame Aura. So this improves all the handling stats of the game quite dramatically, which is very nice. We're coming now into the second track, which is Satellite City, which is absolutely unique because it doesn't have any jumps. It's the only track in the game not to do so. And that means it's a fantastic time to talk about the other source of Nitrox. You may have noticed, along the track, there are a bunch of floating little ring pickups. There's 100 of these on a track, and picking up 19 on PC or 20 on console, don't know why there's a difference, but there we are, will reward you with the full Nitrox meter. Of course, if you collect more than that, then you might waste them, so ring routing, as we term it, is a really important part of this speedrun. There's also a category for which it is even more important than it is here in a regular league run. That is called All Pickups. And on that category, your mission, in addition to completing the game as fast as possible, is to collect each one of the 100 pickups on all 15 tracks for a total of, I think, 1,500, if I can do basic math. Yeah, all 1,500 ring pickups throughout the game. There is a second type of pickup which we'll talk about in a bit, but for now that's pretty much all there is to know about the rings. So what about Satellite City itself then? Well, it's a little bit infamous as a reset point for top level runners because of the huge big corkscrew that you can see in the middle of the track. That is notoriously difficult to perform a shuffle on efficiently. Because you're constantly having to adjust your angle into the wall so you don't fall off it or oversteer and end up going backwards. This is because you only have 3 wheels of contact on this sort of terrain. You can see one of the wheels hanging off of the track, and whilst this improves the amount of speed we're able to get from this track, it also reduces the grip, the traction, whatever you would like to call it. The friction, I believe, is what the in-game systems refer to it as. And that reduces the amount of stiction you have to the track and the amount of control you have. Not a problem in this case, though. Of course, Bengals cleared out that stage lovely and quick. As we move on to Vapor City, which is my favourite track, and I'm not biased. It is absolutely fantastic, really. There's so much that was discovered here. So shuffling was discovered on the loop that you'll see here in a second. Refill tech, which is what you see after the second jump, is the process of holding onto a Nitrox until after a ramp. As we saw on Cloud9, you can use it on certain ramps to get more distance. Well, in other cases, if you hold on to that boost, you can essentially use it as you're landing before you're given the reward for that landing, which is very nice. And we can use that to pull a lot of speed out of the second ramp, despite it not being the most optimally placed boost-wise. In addition to that, there is a somewhat cursed hidden technique called loop skip. On that big loop, you may notice the central partition, and that is inconvenient to go around, as it were. So if you're lucky or using certain cars, then you can clip through that central partition and cut out about half of the loop, which is incredibly handy. It saves about half a second each lap. Not the most practical for full game runs, especially due to how inconsistent it is. But it is, you know, it's good for individual level runs, even though it's not exactly fun. So there was a bit of a routing change there that you might have seen that Bengals unfortunately had to do.
I went brain dead for a second. I
yeah,
forgot
you were
about
playing a time trial.
Yeah, I'm too used to it.
That was unfortunately due to missing something we'll call the flame wheel pickup. This essentially lowers the orange barrier that you saw Bengals bounce ineffectively off, and we'll see it again in a few minutes in Tesla's Cube, the next track. And yeah, usually these aren't in the way of the ideal path so often. I believe, in fact, there's been some revelations in routing for a few later stages recently by our strat finder Bengals. But if they are in the path, you can lose not too much time by going for them and gain a lot from not relying on the AI to pick up that pickup for you. So on to Tesla's Cube, I should mention something called Fast Ramp. This is essentially, well, on Cloud9 we saw the benefits, and indeed on Vapor City we saw the benefits of using nitrox on a ramp to get extra distance and extra landing speed. But it means you can't use it anywhere on normal bits of track. Well, as you saw there in Tesla's Cube, we can sort of do both. If you have a good setup and plenty of speed going into the ramp, you can use your nitrox early and still receive the additional distance and speed. This is something we term fast ramping because I think over the course of this track it saves 6 seconds doing all 3 laps, which is insane. It is a speedy technique, and because of the extra distance we can get, even versus a normal nitrox ramp, it is 100% an optimal strategy. There's a few variations of it we'll be seeing in a bit, but in the meantime I'll mention again the flame wheel pickup. You can see on the second and third lap, Bengals picking up that nice burning bit of rubber without any difficulty at all because it is conveniently in the path. This isn't always the case, you know. Usually we have to do routing changes, pardon me, I am English, and then see what we can do if we don't go for it. So it's a big bit of the game's routing, bit of the fun of your engagement. Very well done there as we come up to Space Out, which is another infamous space track. So what we've got right at the start is a technique called Slingshot, which was a long theorized but recently confirmed to save about 2 seconds on this track by Bacon, who I mentioned earlier. And as you can see, we're just going to go backwards on the track to hit an earlier boost, get up to speed quicker, slingshot, badum-tish, our way past the AI. Very nice.
Thank you.
This track also has a bit of infamy due to its kill planes. So on the start planet finish line, you can see that there's a drop down, then the line, then a rise back up of the track. It turns out that above these tracks, or you can think of it as such, there is a kill plane that if you go too fast you will hit and be reset. It's a little bit more complicated than that. It turns out that every piece of track in this game has a sort of invisible tether between itself and the car, which if you pull it too much, too long, or there isn't contact between the wheels and the ground for too long, then that will essentially snap back and reset your position, which is not convenient because it loses all your speed and you have to build it up again. It's also a personal gripe for this track, as I, in a race setting, have not multiple times, but multiple times, flown off the side of the track due to that drop down and not sticking to it. Once again, that friction coming into play, which you can actually improve if you let off the accelerator, which increases the margins a bit, but does also increase the amount of technical skill you need to pull it off. Overall,
we got a 153.
Ooh, that's pretty spicy.
Yeah, it's quite.
We're coming up to the final track of the Rookie League tracks.
And my personal favorite.
Oh my, really?
Yeah.
Really? Okay, this is Mist Mountain, and as you can see, there is a big, tricky trick that comes up quite immediately. This is a variation on fast ramp that I was talking about, called free ramp. There is a flame wheel pickup that you can get if you use nitrox on the first accessible ramp. Unfortunately, there is literally no way to get that nitrox before the first ramp, so we have to miss out on the faster route. But if you do a fast ramp technique, you can, for free, unlock that alternating path without needing the nitrox, which is very convenient and certainly optimal. Yes, we did indeed get it in this case. Apologies, I'm on a bit of a delay, so you probably knew that before I did.
Oh yeah,
But
I'm in a groove when
saves
I'm on this
about.
track.
Oh yeah, it is nice when you execute well. It's just very difficult to execute well. There is something of a community meme that there is no such thing as a good missed mountain split. Well, I think you might be contesting that here today.
I mean, it has cost me many a run before, but I will try not to let it get me down this time.
Quite so indeed. On the second and third laps, we have access to a ramp for the titular free ramp experience, I suppose you could call it. And that gives us an opportunity to build up that nitrox, so we don't need to do it. Of course, the setup going into it is still a very fast shuffle, so we may as well still do it, and use the nitrox just to ensure we get that pickup. But even so, Drew, the world record holder for this game, reckons it only saves about a second playing optionally. So whilst it is, preferred to do it, it's not necessary for a good run. Once again, we're seeing that routing coming into play at the end of lap 2, by the way, as Bengals goes up the wall to collect the flame wheel pickup that on lap 1 we left to the AI. We're just so far ahead at this point that the barrier will still be shut by the time we get to it if we let the AI collect it for us. And sometimes they can be especially mean and just decide not to, which is a beautiful way to lose a run.
And something I do want to note, the main difference between using Power Rocket and Golden Arrow is when you shuffle to get that token that's on the wall, I don't have to stop and adjust myself because the car is so long.
Yeah, there are little efficiencies you can pull back like that, which is always nice to see. Whilst there is a meta pick, it's not necessarily the best for everyone, and I do like that variety.
Oh. I better not set a new record. I'm probably going to set a new record. No?
Well, we'll see how it does.
I forgot I'm a little ahead of you. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, we are coming now into something called Emerald Crater, which is the first of the Veteran League tracks. By the way, the Rookie League record is an 11:25.27 by Drew, measured, of course, by in-game time. We didn't quite hit that here today, but we did have a nice time. Emerald Crater, then, is where I traditionally tell you about the difference between full game runs and individual level runs. So, in individual level runs, you have options between Quick Race, which plays very much like these league runs, and also the Time Trial. This has a couple of differences. In Time Trial, there are no rings, there are no flame wheel pickups, and there are no barriers, which means that stages which rely on rings for a bit of extra speed, like the first track we saw, Cloud9, and the second, indeed, Satellite City, there is a lot of time lost there playing Time Trial. Meanwhile, Quick Race can be slower as well if you have to deal with the barrier. I believe you lose... Well, it might be different now because of routing changes, but you can lose a few seconds out in something like Mist Mountain, where that first barrier prevents you from taking a shortcut. I believe there are also some routing changes on this track relating to a... Well, I'm not sure what relating to, but it is certainly an ever-evolving game, and that's something I'd like to highlight at this stage. It's always nice to see.
Oh, nothing happened.
I'll be keeping an eye out, see what that was, but I think I already know.
Nothing happened, I promise.
Oh, unfortunately, it looks like Bengals there with the boost pickup, and therefore has to take a slightly longer route. Highly unfortunate.
My heart, my soul.
And these things happen, we mentioned that you'd have to go out of your way for a lot of them. They're not always in the path, and you can't always hit them, even if you try your best.
I can't remember the last time Wait, never mind, I'm good. I was about to say, my brain's not wanting to focus right now on remembering the last stunt I did, exclusively. But I've got it now.
Nice to see. Alright, so as we come up to the final lap, is there... I mean, I may as well give a bit of a hint towards the theming, which is something I do like throughout this game, and I don't usually talk about. It's just very nice, this game. All the tracks have a very distinct atmosphere and feel to them, which is something that not every game of this nature can pull off.
That is true. It's very unique, I will say that. Although it doesn't really follow the movie all that much, but as a thought in itself, it's good.
Yeah, so this is actually a bit of shovelware related, of course, to the Hot Wheels franchise, but mostly to a film called Highway 35 World Race, produced by Hot Wheels, or at least licensed by them. I'm not sure exactly who the production company was. And it's a terrible, terrible movie. Absolute trash, for sure. But it's enjoyable trash. So we're coming now towards Deep Zone, which is our first wet track. Very watery indeed that it is. And there's another variation of fast ramp here called Spiral Skip. Will you be going for it?
Yes, I will.
Fantastic. We'll see if we can hit it here in American, which would be very nice. So, Spiral Skip is essentially a very precise free ramp, fast ramp sort of variation, which puts you in the right area to clip the end of a big, long, spiraling stretch of track, which honestly is probably already on screen, knowing how far behind I am. And yeah, it is an absolute slog. So if you can cut that out by clipping the respawn zone of the end of it, that's even with the slowdown that you have to take for the reset that it'll still give you. It's something like 8 seconds a lap or something.
Ow.
Which is insane. Bit of pain.
A little bit.
Oh dear. There are also variations on fast ramp you can do at multiple stages in this run. You know, we see it. Oh, I just caught up to that. That was indeed painful.
Yep.
Oh well, try not to dwell on it too much. Yeah, there are a bunch of fast ramps throughout the run that you can do. I believe there's one on Deep Zone as well, besides Spiral Skip, of course. Alright, we're coming up towards it now, so good luck, my friend.
Thank you. You cannot defeat me. I have the meta car. I don't need the meta car. Oh, no.
Unfortunate. Yeah, it is a tricky skip to get. I think you've only got it like once or twice offline, haven't you?
Once.
Oh dear. I mean, even Drew struggles with it, and he's the world record holder. Few people have tried it and got some consistency. There does exist a record with 2 out of 2 that you can attempt. You can't do it on the first lap, of course, but you can on the second and third. But yeah, it is tricky. It requires a lot of practice and a lot of luck, essentially.
I just screwed over an AI.
Nice one! Never let the AI rise up and defeat you, friend.
No.
Ouch.
Yeah. Oh, goodness. I've never been able to do that before, but, I mean, the lead is mine.
Quite, yes. That was indeed a shortcut cut short.
Ah, I see what you did.
Yes, I will stress once again that this game, based on the movie, we reference it always, despite the fact it's terrible, because it's lovable terrible, you know?
Yeah. Alright.
Second attempt, good luck.
Nope.
Oh,
I touched the top of the track, but it still reset me back there anyway.
We shall not be seeing it today. That is deeply upsetting, because, you know, we want to show off for the people. Show them what this game is made of, and again, even if the rest of your run is a bit clunky, then you will see a huge improvement if you even hit the technique once.
Right. It's very not consistent at all.
No, absolutely. No one really expect to get it in a full game run. And even ILs, it's even in individual level runs, it's a bit unseen, as it were.
Yeah. Fun fact, this is also the only quick race track I've not gotten a sub 4 minutes on.
That's true. This is partially due to that big old spiral, the longest track in the game by time and distance. Still cleared out there, very nicely done.
Thank you.
As we come towards Egyptian Dunes, where I typically shout out the other Hot Wheels speed games. So, as you may know, this is not the only game that has ever been licensed to Hot Wheels, which is always nice to see. I would give specific shout-outs in this case towards Hot Wheels Unleashed, the latest released game, Stunt Track Challenge, which has a lot of overlap with our game. There's also been some interest recently for Velocity X. I believe you've been running it recently.
Yeah, I did a stream on it the other day, actually.
Very nice to see. There was some interest just the other day for Hot Wheels Track Attack, and a new game has hit the scene. Hot Wheels Brakeless had its first record uploaded.
Hot Wheels what?
Brakeless.
I've never heard that.
Same here, so I am very curious after this, after today, I'm sure we'll both have to go and learn up a little bit.
Oh yeah.
Because I'm intrigued.
That and Turbo Racing also has a little bit of a following.
That's true, yeah. Every speed game, or every game in the Hot Wheels, I suppose, franchise, does have at least someone who's run it. At least now, I think. So be sure to check out the general community Discord accessible through speedrun.com, and you will see all sorts of wondrous things if any of the games strike your fancy. There's also the GBA version of Hot Wheels World Race, which says it's a version, but is in fact a completely different game. It plays more like the Super Nintendo Mario Kart, I think, is probably a good comparison.
I'd say so.
Yeah, it's crusty, it's flat, it's not the greatest game in the world, but people have run it.
Yep.
Which is probably the best I can say for it, honestly.
It did the best it could for when it came out.
That is true, yes. We can't criticize it too harshly. It's just been a little bit outclassed by this marvelous game, and honestly, the game is garbage. I think there's no contention in that argument, is there? Casually...
Sure.
Casually, it's not the most deep experience, it's not the most thrilling, but as a speed game, because of things like shuffling and all these various skips and techniques, it just shines. It absolutely does.
Yeah.
And it's sort of like, yeah, good for you, game. Like, Unleashed had a speedrunning community, but it's sort of dying down at this point, because the game, you know, it's got big skips in every track, but once you do them, they're very consistent. There's no, like, individuality to a runner anymore. Meanwhile, this, shuffling is a factor of where you hit the pad, where you, what angle you hit it at, you know, what car you're using, so many things that affect it. It's just very individual, and so it's very feel-based, rather.
Mm-hmm.
And so it just feels like there's endless depth to it.
Ooh. Yep, Power Rocket has always been a childhood favorite car of mine, and going through the challenge I did when you discovered me, I found out how useful it was.
Right, so shall we talk a little bit about that? So you're relatively new to the community, aren't you?
Yeah, I've been a member since, what was it, December of last year?
November, I think, is when you when I met you. So about December when you started actively running.
Oh, yeah, okay, that makes sense.
So, last year in November, our community hosted something called the Rookie League Tournament, where we played out in a double elimination bracket, the shortest full, I guess, main leaderboard category. And it was pretty entertaining, you know, we came to the finals, Drew versus the previous world record holder, very exciting, we had the legendary Aura Ace on commentary, but after the fact, you know, I was hungry to get a bit more of a fix for Hot Wheels World Race. So, of course, I do as I usually do, and browse the Twitch tab, and what do I see but someone playing casually? Although, there was a bit more than a casual run, wasn't there?
It was. So what I did was something I've always wanted to do as a kid. I called it the Flawless Challenge, where you have to use every single car in the game in Elite League mode, get all the rings, win every race, and never restart a race. And I did it. It took about 25 hours to do, but I did it.
Yeah, every single car, and as a result, you found that your childhood favourite was actually quite acceptable.
Yeah, I was surprised too.
Yeah, you've held previously a top 3 time, very impressive to see. With a car, which I suppose makes sense that it's fast, given that it's essentially a bobsled with 2 jet turbines attached to the end.
Yeah, it's a bobsled, but it's my bobsled.
Quite so, we love to see it. So, of course, I turn up in chat and start giving fun facts about the game and speedrunning it. And lo and behold, once the challenge is complete, he starts picking up the game as a speed game, which I absolutely love to see. More interest in the game. That I would bet the overwhelming majority of people watching have seen at least, most of which will have played it.
Yeah, the community itself, I want to talk a bit about the community if you don't mind, for always sake.
Absolutely, yeah. I'll just note that we are now at the end of the Veteran League tracks, the world record for which is a 24:28.11, also by Drew. Anyway, carry on.
So, the community itself has been very open, very helpful, and has really helped me find a place in here to settle down. I'll admit, I've tried using... Oh, I went fast right there. I tried using Golden Arrow because like everybody else uses it, and it, gives very cracked times, if you will. It just wasn't my thing. It's not really my niche. I didn't feel as comfortable driving that as I do Power Rocket. Now, I will say Golden Arrow probably is the better car in terms of like handling, speed, and shuffling, but you can't control what you love, and I mean, this car has been very beneficial to me, and I feel proud to say that I'm sitting up there in the one of the top spots in the leaderboards with a non-meta car.
Yeah, I mean, I think you are the highest placing non-Golden Arrow, which is always a nice, mark on your bonnet.
Yeah, because you go through the results, you see Golden Arrow, Power Rocket, Golden Arrow, Golden Arrow, Golden Arrow. It just repeats.
Yes, like, hang on, someone made a typo. No, that's just what he do. Marvelous stuff. So as we come up to Lava Twists, it's where I briefly mentioned or alluded to them earlier, but I should mention the surprisingly active modding scene that this game has. So we've got like custom music, of course, we've got custom textures you can import, we've got a working prototype of this game thanks to community member Nico. I believe we've got some new textures that came into the community fairly recently.
Yes, I made some.
Yes. Let's see as well. We've got... Actually, Enigmatic Will, who I mentioned earlier, has a brilliant suite of games with slightly modified physics and various things. So there's a version with a top-down camera. There's a version where it's faster to drive backwards, and so on and so forth. And it's very fun to see him run through the set. I should ask him to make a public dump of those. I would be curious to see how people respond.
Yeah, Will has been one of the most helpful people in terms of making me feel welcome and giving me tips and everything. And he's a wonderful programmer. He does such a good job.
Will, in fact, I've just spent the last week or so in communication with him to hash out the exact details of how shuffling works, so that I can, explain it properly in future, which is very nice, and I do love him doing that.
Yes, and he's very helpful too. Like he will take time out of his day, even if he's busy, to help somebody.
Yeah, I mean, like me and you had a question recently about the car switchback, because we noticed on Mist Mountain, occasionally, if it's controlled by the AI, it'll just fall off the track.
Yeah, I love that.
It is one of my favorite glitches in this game. Where just, yeah, I decide I don't want to grip. Ascends, you know, I must go, my people need me.
So that's how
See,
Alec got lost in the realm. He just fell off the track.
Exactly. But yeah, it turns out that's because of its hitbox. Its body hitbox is the lowest in comparison to its real hitboxes of any car.
It is also the heaviest.
And as a result of these factors, you know, it pops a wheel off on a corkscrew, and suddenly it's like, oh, I don't have the friction to hold on anymore. See you. So, huge shout out to Will for answering our dumb questions.
Hey, there's no such thing as a dumb question.
I feel like we're getting pretty close to that threshold.
Okay, fair enough. Which I was surprised that Power Rocket's not one of the heaviest ones, or not the heaviest one.
Yeah, it's, I think, the second longest at least, so take solace in.
Grease Lightning is the longest, and nobody uses Grease Lightning for good reason.
Well, you say that. Z-Storm Games, not exactly an active runner, has submitted a timeline. But primarily a VR streamer who dipped into the community. Has, I think, a vindictive personal best, I will describe it as.
Yeah.
Like, this is the terrible worst car in the game. I'm gonna use it.
Well, I mean, I also thought that too, because I decided to use it on the Cloud 9 run and actually got a 118 with it.
Yeah, you're thinking of putting together a bit of a series for doing what you can with that, so I'm curious to see where that goes.
Yeah. Oh, you know, we've been talking about the patch a little bit. Why don't we go a little bit more in depth with that?
Very well. So, whilst there has been the general modding scene, there is also a full-on community patch. This was, of course, developed by Will. Of course, Wayminter contributed, as well as LolPengals, myself, Bengals even, and several others. It's been fantastic overall. And what it does is a lot of things. So it rebalances the car stats. It improves the AI, so it's a bit more competitive. Changes the track order for different leagues. And it smooths out hitboxes, or rather changes how bendy bits of the cars are, so that essentially they behave as would be optimal for performing shuffles, even with cars that optimally probably not the best in vanilla, such as no matter what, the squarish thing outside of cubes.
Really?
And yeah, this is a huge project with so many contributions, and it's lovely to see that it's got even its own devolved leaderboard at this stage, as well as the Rookie League, Veteran League, Elite League leaderboards for vanilla. There are Veteran League, Rookie League, and Elite League patch leaderboards. And since the general speed of the patch is a bit quicker, you know, it's really engaged a lot of people. People are thinking, yeah, this is what the game should have been. And it's a sentiment that I 100% agree with.
Although the shuffling in it's a bit different.
That is true. There have been minor mechanical tweaks here and there, which just changes how the game plays. Honestly, it's a whole new game.
It pretty much is, yeah. And you can put custom textures on your cars too, which I've taken advantage of.
That is true, yes. So in vanilla runs, unfortunately, you know, all the files of the vanilla game are locked up, bundled up as you'd expect. They've all been neatly packed away or hidden from sight. Well, in the patch, what if they weren't? And as a result, you know, we have a community sort of gentleman's agreement that if you clear the texture ahead of time with mods, then you can use whatever you like. And so you use a Tiger patterned Power Rocket, I believe.
Yes.
I use a Golden Arrow with Shrek face decals in reference to Smash Mouth doing the title theme of this game. And yeah, there's all sorts of wonderful things that you can see. Contributions from all sorts of people.
It's really an amazing thing to see people's creative sides come out.
Oh yeah, I mean, there are several members in the community, like, is it Michael?
Oh, Michael's been helping me learn Photoshop and how to do this stuff.
Yes, Michael, LolPengals, you know, community members who are pretty much just here for the texture fun. And you know what? We welcome them.
Oh, definitely.
So yeah, absolutely. shout out the community patch, because it is a big bit of the modern game.
Yep. Ooh, come on.
Well,
Schmoove.
there has been some verifiable schmovement today.
Finished with a 328 on Pyramid.
Alright, not too bad. We'll be moving on then to the second wet and watery moist track that is Submerged City, which is traditionally where I talk about Kirk. So it's a name that I've not mentioned before because he no longer holds main category records, but he is one of the most influential figures this game has ever had. I think that's fair to say. For a period of 2 years, every main category world record and the vast majority of individual levels were held by one person, of course being Master Kirk, who is appropriately named. In addition to that, techniques such as fast ramping, the spiral skip variations, and so on and so forth, all these things were innovated and developed upon by Kirk. So it was not sitting idle at the top, improving that time wherever it could happen. And we really have to shout out and appreciate it, because Kirk, as well as all of that, was a brilliant community member whilst he was active in it. When I joined, I was having some pretty rudimentary difficulties with the game. I wasn't... A little embarrassing to admit, I wasn't entirely sure how the tricks of this worked. And as a result of that, I came in and asked a question, and just patiently and calmly, Kirk helped me out to get up to par. As well as that, he's helped me out with routing in Vapor City. He actually helped me develop a strategy to get the first 3 out of 3 loop skip run, which was very convenient and very kind of him. And he was the organizer of the Rookie League tournament last year. He's done things like setting up the community Twitch channel from which we streamed the latter half of that tournament, which was very convenient and very nice and very fun. So yeah, we really can't put enough stress on the name. Well done, Kirk. Thank you for being a part of the community.
And he even helped me too when I was struggling with some of the strategies, because he's very familiar with Golden Arrow, much like everybody else is. So I would imagine having to give strats for a different car is sort of unorthodox. But he did try his best, though, and he has been very helpful in helping me get along.
Yeah, it's a shame he's somewhat stepped back from the community at this point. We do hope to see him again, because I still do believe, even though he doesn't hold records anymore, he is better than us.
Yeah. I don't know, Drew's kind of trending up.
He is certainly trending, and he did beat Kirk during Rookie League Grand Finals, so... It is far from a one-man show anymore, but I do believe that Kirk is still the better runner.
And speaking of ascending runners, Bacon has really shot up the leaderboards.
Absolutely right, yeah. Bacon being our strategy finder pretty much for this game. Doing things like developing slingshot and other techniques. There's new routing in Mist Mountain, which doesn't involve diverting for the pickup on lap 2. And just timing out these things has been a really great benefit to the community. But on top of that, Bacon's just good at the game. So there we are.
We're at the penultimate track, Pro ASIC.
Alright, welcome to a very nice track. No, that was awful. I do apologize.
Okay, Pro ASIC, cool it with the jokes.
Alright, I'll let it chill. So yes, we are, as we've perhaps alluded to, in Ice City. So we should give some more community shout-outs since we're coming towards the end. Walteg GK, of course, being one of our big moderators. And of course, the first person to hold a world record sweep. That being all main leaderboard categories. So well done there, even if it's been a while. He's rising back up the board, I noticed. Is menacing.
Yeah.
as well. Aura Ace, who I mentioned before from Rookie League Tournament, is one of our verifiers. Also a big name in the Sonic Adventure 2 community, so shoutouts. Let me know you're a fan with a President Aura in chat if you are. Quitter, I believe he pronounces it.
Yeah, Quitter.
Unusual spelling. Also a community verifier. Not been the most active in recent months, but still a very friendly and responsive community member, which I quite like.
Oh, yeah.
Will and Drew, of course, also have the ability to moderate and verify very well, and are so active in the community that, honestly, you submit a run, within a day, it is on the board. Very convenient.
Or unless Will gets onto me for submitting like 10 runs to verify at once.
Maybe you should do what Kirk used to, compile them all into one video and submit. Well, I suppose it's still the same amount of work from the moderation perspective, but saves them clicking through videos.
I don't know, that's a pretty big file. I'd rather not do that.
Alright, fair enough.
I need all the hard drive space I can get.
And of course we mentioned right at the start that there is a brilliant person not in our community any longer. That is, of course, SB Runs, who is a Super Mario Sunshine runner who took the inaugural first step to upload the very first Elite League time all the way back in 2017, So thank you very much to SB and, to everyone else who's actively running or has in the past submitted a time. I know Eclipsed has sort of stepped back, still sort of on the periphery, but we do like to see it. Colt's recently making a comeback to the community. All these people who just keep this game alive, and it's brilliant because I love this game, you love this game, people who know this game love this game. The critics not necessarily loving this game, they certainly recognize it though, so, there's that.
It's a pretty iconic piece of shovelware, I will say.
Oh yeah, 100%. And yeah, just fun. So thanks SB especially for, kicking this whole mess train off.
Alright. And just one more shuffle around the turn. Bam.
Right. And we are on now to the final track, which is, of course, Vast Jungle. So at this stage, I'll tell you the world record for Elite League by in-game time is a 41:29.22. I don't know if you've had your splits open yourself.
No, I don't.
So we won't know for a while until that's retimed how we compare. I can't imagine it's the closest thing because Drew is very good. But he's not the best, at least not practically speaking, because the community sum of best is almost 3 minutes faster at a 38:36.81.
I wouldn't call out Drew like that. He'll take that as a challenge.
He certainly will. You know what? I hope he does. He does hold, 1/3 of those individual level records. So he is still, the best, but he could be better.
It's kind of funny because I'm gonna be racing Drew next week, and whenever I guess somebody like challenges him or talk about saying, "Hey, can you beat this time?" He's like, "I'm just a guy who does a card that does some funny moves." Like
That's very true.
Yeah, he's very nonchalant about it, and I like it.
It's just fast car go fast. It's like, no, you are literally the best in the world at this. So fast cars go very fast.
I like humble people.
Yeah, he is a sweetheart.
But you know what I don't like? Slamming into the walls when I'm going fast.
Unfortunate there. Well, it's been a pretty clean run overall, I would say. We didn't quite get spiral skip, which we were going for, but pretty much everything else has been hit that was targeted, which is nice. It's been a good showcase, I think.
Pain.
It was a good showcase up until then.
Okay, no, we're good. I've also noticed that the theming on a lot of these tracks is excavation.
Actually, that does seem to track. Interesting.
Because, Vast Jungle is basically a sawmill.
Yeah, the theming of these tracks is something that I don't think enough weight is put on. Whilst it's not, by the same writers as Highway 35, it's not, Accelerator's canon or whatever. I think it still merits analysis because it is a It is an interesting game, and clearly there was a lot of thought being put into this.
Yeah.
It's not just generic backgrounds, screenshots from the movie or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I've liked this one. You know, we've talked about a lot of good things. You know, shout outs to the community, shout outs to everyone running this game and the other Hot Wheels games. It's always nice when such a common passion as Hot Wheels gets its grubby little fingers into even the far reaches of speedrunning.
Oh yeah. And I want to give a very special shout out to somebody who has been a big influence in my life as of recently when it comes to speedrunning, and that is ProAsic, the one who found me.
They sound like a lovely individual. I wonder what they're doing now.
I have no idea. Yeah, I think they're commentating on somebody's run. I'm not sure.
Okay, well, see if I can catch up with them later. Yeah, it has been a great pleasure to introduce you to this run, and of course to introduce the wider speedrunning community to it. You know, we've taken it. I don't know if you got there before I did for your first run at a marathon, but certainly we've taken together the first few marathon showcases that this game has been treated to.
Yup.
So it is very nice to get that outreach out there. Alright, time will be coming just at the end of lap 3 here, so do call it out.
3:41 is what I got.
Very nice. That is, of course, time. So thank you very much, Bengals, for putting on an excellent race.
Thank you for your expert commentary. Now let's see Power Rocket spin, because I won the world race.
Yeah. Alright, wonderful stuff. There we are. That looks like a 48, 46, yeah, or 36 rather. Lovely to see. Great job. You know, yeah, there's not much more to say. Thank you very much, Bengals. Is there anything more you would like to add?
If you are interested in running the game, please do join the Discord server. It's one of the best places you can be.
Absolutely. That is accessible through the speedrun.com/HWWR page, where of course you can browse all the records for vanilla and for patch in all categories. Love to see it. Thank you very much for joining me, Bengals.
And thank you for joining ProAsic.
And I will keep staying on as your host as we continue onwards with our next run, which will be Outrun by Digital Duck.